Hi again, seniors. It's day 5 of Unit 1. We're looking at marginal analysis. When is one more too much? We want to find marginal costs and marginal benefits of our decisions, and then work with marginal utility. The standards we've been working with you can see here, and our assessment on these standards will be next Friday, February 15th. So when we're thinking at the margin, we're thinking about one more or one less of something. Whereas benefit and cost deal with the overall satisfaction, time, money, skill that we gain or we lose from a decision, marginal is going to be focusing on what a little bit more do we get or do we lose as a result of a decision. So some examples would be like for work. If you work for one more hour, you can get your pay for one more hour. That's a marginal benefit. And so to think about this and with some practice, given a decision-making grid with these various options of 1 hour of study all the way up to 6 hours of study, you have benefits and you have costs as a result of these decisions. So if you choose to study for 3 extra hours, then your benefit is going to be 2.5 in economics, but you're going to lose out on 3 hours with your friends. The question asks, though, for the benefit, and so our benefit is a 2.5 in Econ. The cost of studying for 3 hours is going to be those 3 hours with your friends. Remember, you can only be in one place at one time. You can't do both at the same time. So it's either you're studying or you're with your friends. Now, the marginal benefit is what we want to focus on, this idea of thinking at the margin. If we want to find the marginal benefit for studying for 2 extra hours, we're going to look at 2 extra hours, and we're going to look at the benefit column, but instead of saying that it's a 2.0, we have to find what we gained from that additional hour of study. So for 1 hour, we gained a 1.5. For 1 additional hour, we're at a 2.0. And so the difference between these two is a 0.5. And so the marginal benefit is a 0.5 increase in our score. Marginal cost works the same way. If we look at 5 hours of extra study, we lose out on 5 extra hours with our friends. But the marginal cost is going to be the difference between 4 hours and 5 hours of study, which is going to be 1 hour with our friends. That's the additional cost that we gave up as a result of studying for 5 hours instead of 4 hours. Marginal benefit of studying for 4 extra hours. So 4 extra hours, marginal benefit, again, is going to be a 0.5 increase in our score. 3 hours, 2.5, 4 hours is a 3.0, so that additional difference is a 0.5. Marginal cost works the same way. 6 hours with our friends. If we were at or 6 extra hours of studying, the total cost is 6 hours, but if we went from 5 to 6, we go from 5 hours to 6 hours, so again, it's 1 additional hour. Now, all of those previous examples have a constant opportunity cost and benefit, but life is rarely that way. It's rarely that consistent. So take, for example, this scenario. Let's say we're practicing basketball free throws. The cost of a 3rd hour of practice is going to be 3 hours of sleep, so it works the same way. The marginal cost of that 3rd hour of practice is going to be the difference between 2 hours and 3 hours, which is 1 hour. 3 hours minus 2 hours is 1 hour. Now let's look at where it varies a little bit. The benefit of a 3rd hour of practice is going to be your 85% free throw accuracy. Okay, just benefit. Marginal benefit now is going to be the difference between 2 hours and 3 hours. So it's the difference between 80 and 85%, which is a 5% accuracy. So if you only practice 2 hours, you get 80%. But if you do an extra hour, you're going to get a little bit more. And that little bit more is 5%. The 2nd hour of practice is the difference between 1 and 2 hours of practice, which is 10%. And what might be a little tricky here is the 1st hour of practice. If you don't practice at all, you're not going to have any benefit. But if you do 1 hour, you're going to get 70. So the difference between 0 and 70, of course, is 70. So you should start to see a pattern happening. What's happening to marginal benefit as you increase the hours of practice? So as we practice more, the marginal benefit goes from 0 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 85. You should see that it decreases. It's going down a little bit, little by little. So with 4 hours, maybe it's going to be like 2%. And so we're going to have 87% accuracy for 4 hours of practice. So total utility is going to increase all the way up to 100%. Marginal utility continues to go down. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller as you approach 100%. Instance where this is applicable in the business world is when it comes to manufacturing products. How can companies save money? They found that by decreasing the diameter of the top and bottoms of the can, that they can save a little bit of money by not spending as much money on the resources, the aluminum that goes into the can. But by saving a little bit, like maybe a cent per can, when that's multiplied by millions of cans, they're saving a lot of money on their resources. So that's an instance where thinking at the margin benefits a business. Now, money is easy to quantify, but other satisfaction and pleasure that we gain from decisions is difficult to quantify. And so economists use this concept of utils or utility to try to measure these things. And we can make decisions and feel good about it, or we might feel bad about it. And we simply call that utility. So if we make a choice and we feel good, we're going to have some utility. If we feel bad, we're going to have negative utility. So marginal utility works the same way. It's simply the extra satisfaction or pleasure you get from an increase of one additional unit of a good or service. And let's think about Miss FJ's cookies. When is one more too much? So if we have 0 cookies, we're not going to have any utility. That means we're going to have no marginal utility. If we have 1 cookie, we're going to love it. It's going to be great. We're going to experience some satisfaction. And the difference between 1 and 0 cookies is going to be 25. Let's say that we have another cookie, and the difference between 25 and 40 is 15. So our total utility continues to increase, but that second cookie doesn't taste quite as good as that first cookie. We have a third cookie, and we still like it. We get satisfaction, so our total utility goes up, but it doesn't go up as much. We still enjoy it, but not as much as our second one. And if we continue in that same pattern, you can see a similar occurrence here as what happened before with the free throws. As we increase our activity, right, our total utility is going to go up, and our marginal utility is going to go down. And we can graph that this way. If this total utility shows the number of cookies, and this shows our overall utility, we can see that it continues to go up. But it doesn't go up as steeply as it did at first because we don't increase our utility as much. Our marginal utility is less and less and less. Here it's 25, here it's only 2. Marginal utility will look like this. We start out high, and then we go down as we get smaller and smaller and smaller as we increase the amount of the activity. An example where we can see this in totality is with water. Is it good or bad? Well, we consider total utility and the quantity of rain. We have some water and we need it. It's essential to life. Farmers need it for crops. It tastes great after we've been exercising, so we experience a lot of utility. But over time, if we've had a lot of water, our overall satisfaction goes down. And think of flooding that occurs when we've had enough water and we're really not thirsty anymore. Right? We're not going to gain any more satisfaction out of it. So this is where we would experience negative utility. And that marginal negative utility is going to bring our overall total utility down. And we call that the law of diminishing marginal utility. So quite simply, as the quantity of a good consumed increases, the marginal utility of each additional unit decreases. In your textbook, it talked about pizza and how your first pizza tastes great, you love it, but as you have more and more pizza, your satisfaction goes down. We can think about that with ice cream. If we have an ice cream cone, we have a lot of high marginal utility. We have a second ice cream cone, our marginal utility goes down, 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 down until we hit 0, where we're like, I don't care if I have more ice cream or not, it's not going to make any difference. But if you continue to eat ice cream, you're going to be hurt from it, you're not going to have any satisfaction, it might be painful, and that's where too much of a good thing can become a bad thing, and we experience negative utility. So you can practice on page 12 in your packet, pause the video and do those exercises, and then I'll show you the answers here on this slide and the next. All right, if you had a chance to do the exercises on page 12, check your answers here. This example is similar to the one we did before with Miss FJ's cookies, and you should answer question number 2 that yes, he does, because the marginal utility continues to go down. And graphing our total and marginal utility, you should have something that looks like this. And your homework is finish reading chapter 2.5. Come and see me if you have any questions. Good luck.